Greetings everyone, and welcome to another Comic Book Wednesday update. Today, actually we've only got one comic book and a couple of books, but two of these items fill in some long-standing gaps in a couple of sets that I've been wanting to complete for a very long time. So pretty excited about all of the items in today's update. So let's check them out. Comic Book Wednesday Book and Comic Update, today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Well, as I'm sure most of you are here for the comics, we'll do the comic one first. So, this is a set that I had been wanting to get for a very, very long time. There was an animated adaptation of this particular comic book a while back. It was a miniseries adaptation that basically covered the first major story arc of the comic. It was pretty faithful to the comic, but it also went in some different directions. So it's kind of the same, but different. But anyway, I always loved this animated series, and I've been wanting to check out the comic book that it was based on for a very long time. So it was published in a series of paperback volumes a while back. It was originally single issues, of course. And then recently there was this beautiful remastered edition where they went back to the original artwork and they redid all the coloring and just did these beautiful hardcover deluxe editions of all 35 issues of the series. What am I talking about? The Maxx. Yeah. So, I love the miniseries that was based on this. I have the old VHS release of it. I recorded it off TV as well because the VHS release was heavily edited. So, there was a manufacturer-on-demand DVD release of this put out a few years back. I still haven't picked it up. I really need to get that. To my knowledge, that DVD release is actually uncut, but it just changes one of the songs. There's like one song in it that has been changed for all the home video releases. The song is called I Want to Marry a Lighthouse Keeper, but for some reason, in all the home video releases, they changed it to I Want to Marry a School Bus Driver. I don't know why, because it's literally the same song. They just changed the occupation of the person the singer wants to marry. Anyway, wanted to read the comic for a very long time, but the 7th volume was prohibitively expensive because I guess these had fairly limited print runs and went out of print fairly quickly, and they were highly sought after by collectors. Now, I did get... hardcovers are heavy. I did get the first 6 volumes from Annetta a while back. She picked them up. She's been a book collector for quite some time, and she prefers hardcovers over soft covers just because, you know, I guess they're a little nicer to display on the shelf and whatnot. So she got it for much the same reason that I wanted to get it. I had shown her the animated series many years ago, and she really liked it, so she wanted to read the comics. But when it got past the part of the story that she knew from the animated series, she didn't like the direction that the story went in, so she didn't want to read the rest of them or bother with them anymore, so she asked if I wanted them. So she sold them to me for just a song and a dance, like far less than what they normally would have gone for. And she does that quite often, actually. When she wants to get rid of stuff, she almost always gives me first dibs, so I definitely appreciate that. So, anyway, just a quick look at the covers here. So it's called the Maxximized. This is the beautiful remastered edition, and as you can see, I mean, the artwork is fantastic in this. Now, as for what I thought of it, the miniseries adapted roughly the first 3 volumes of this, and then it goes off into the other 2 major story arcs of the comic. Now, I can see why perhaps Annetta didn't like some of the directions it went in, but, you know, it does go into some pretty strange territory. It's a very deeply psychological story, and the characters go through some pretty complex story arcs, and some of them go down paths that aren't particularly noble, shall we say. And that was one of the things she didn't like about it. So I just kind of stuck with it, and I kept reading and just to see where it goes. And while I didn't particularly care for some of the actions of the characters, I understood that it was just kind of what their arc was, or that it was they had to go to those bad places in order to be redeemed later in the story. So I didn't really have that big of a problem with it. I was enjoying the ride, and also enjoying finally being able to see the rest of the story, which was fantastic. So this is beautiful. I mean, all of the artwork inside is very similar to what you see here. I mean, it's just, you know, it's absolutely gorgeous. Like and the reproduction in these volumes is fantastic. So I essentially decided to wait until I managed to track down the 7th volume before I read the series, because I knew once I got into it I would want to finish it. So I've had these first 6 volumes for literally years, and then I don't know, it came up in conversation, I think, in one of my Twitch streams. We just got to talking about the Maxx, and I was like, huh, I should see if Volume 7's out there somewhere so I can finally complete that set and read the damn thing. And as luck would have it, there was one seller that had Volume 7, and they were selling it. I was pushing the thing down because it's so heavy, for a really reasonable price. I forget what it was. It was like 20, 30 bucks, something like that. It normally goes for at least double that. So I jumped on it. And even better, as it turns out, it was in absolutely pristine condition. So it was in the same condition as the other 6 volumes. So that was fantastic. So I definitely lucked out there. And as soon as it arrived, this became my bedtime reading. And I just couldn't put it down. I normally, when I do my bedtime reading of comics, I'll read maybe a couple issues worth and then go to sleep. This one, I would read like an entire volume. I just couldn't put it down. It was just so damn good. So yeah, really enjoyed this. Having, you know, being able to finally read the story after all these years and see all the similarities and differences between the animated series and the original comic. I'm going to keep those down there because they're super heavy. But yeah, the Maxx is great. They did publish the Maxximized edition in a series of paperback volumes as well, all of which are out of print. The hardcovers are out of print, the paperbacks are out of print. I'll put Amazon links in the description anyway if you'd like to try to get your hands on any of these. It's a really good series, beautiful artwork, and just really, it's not a typical superhero comic by any stretch of the imagination. It's so psychological and symbolic and gets really deep into the psyches of the characters and everything. It's just an amazing, unique journey that I highly recommend to anyone who wants a really good story to read that's going to stick with you forever. Like, it will stick with you forever. You will never forget it. But, yeah, it's fantastic, and I love it. So it was great to finally be able to experience that. And to get the final volume for a decent price, especially after getting the first 6 volumes for a decent price from Annetta. So that was pretty cool. So, so next up, getting into the books here. This next one is pretty well known, and it was adapted into an 8-season series by HBO. I loved the entire series, and I don't care who knows it. A lot of people didn't like how it ended up, but I enjoyed all of it. I thought it was really good stuff. Now, the book series is supposed to be 7 books. Thus far, there have been 5 books published. Nobody knows when books 6 and 7 are coming out. So when the TV series got to the end of book 5, they had spoken to, I'll just tell you what it is. It's Game of Thrones. Now this I picked up a while ago. This is a box set of the first 4 books. Very nice. Has some artwork from the show and stuff like that. So I picked this up because I was enjoying the show, so I wanted to read the books that it was based on. So for the longest time, all I had was this set, and I finally picked up book 5, A Dance with Dragons. So there you go. So we're all up to date now, and I wanted to get the one with the cover design that matched the editions that I have. So that goes with it very nicely. And there we go. So I can finally put these... Now it's just a matter of finding the time to read them. So yeah, anyway, as I was saying, when the TV series got to the end of book 5, as far as adapting it, they had spoken to George R.R. Martin about kind of where the story was going to go from beyond that. And he kind of laid it all out for them and said, well, okay, here's all the major beats of the story. You know, obviously I don't have all the details yet because I haven't finished writing the books yet. So he gave them as much information as he could so that they could finish the series, even though the rest of the books hadn't come out yet. So essentially they took what he gave them, mixed it all in with some of the changes that they had made in the adaptation so it all fit, and that's it, and adapted the rest of it. But a lot of fans of the books didn't like that. They didn't like where the series went. I mean, first off, they changed some stuff, and second off, they refused to accept that the things that happen in the latter parts of the series, the last 3 seasons of the series, are accurate to what it will be in the book. George Martin has said it is and it isn't, and that's all he said. So we're just going to have to wait for the books to come out to find out for sure. But anyway, I really enjoyed the series. Honestly, I think the book fans were just miffed because suddenly, for the first 5 seasons, they had, you know, they had an advantage over people who were just watching the series in that they knew what was going to happen next, and they could rub it in their faces and post spoilers if they wanted to be real dicks. And suddenly, we were all on the same page for season 6 onward. Nobody knew what was going to happen next. Suddenly, the book fans didn't have the advantage anymore. I think that's the real reason they were pissed off. But anyway, I digress. I really enjoyed the show, so I really wanted to check out the original books. And, you know, I know some of the differences. I know, like, for example, some of the story arcs in the show were kind of amalgamations of the story arcs of several characters from the books. The other thing is the books are all in first person. So it's like each chapter is from the perspective of a specific character. So obviously you can't really do a show in that format without it just being narrated to death by the character in question. So instead they chose not to do that. Also in the book, some of the ravens actually speak. They have talking ravens. They didn't do that in the show. All the ravens are just ravens. But they're smart, but they don't talk. Anyway, lots of little differences, and looking forward to seeing what all the differences are whenever I get around to reading it. It's obviously a huge time commitment, and, well, I'll do my best. Anyway, just glad to have them so I can finally see where it all began. And I would assume Book 6 will be coming out relatively soon, because Book 5 came out around the same time that the series started. And that was like 8 years ago, so hopefully Book 6 will appear fairly soon, and that, you know, and Book 7 will happen at some point. Hopefully not too long, because, you know, he's getting up there in years, and everybody's a little concerned. But, anyway, gotta love some Game of Thrones. Or I should say A Song of Ice and Fire, because that's actually the series name. They just named the show after the first book. Next up, last but most definitely not least, this is a story I've been wanting to read for a very, very long time. I am a huge fan of the 1982 movie based on this story. In fact, I would say it's one of my all-time favorite movies. If you saw my top 13 sci-fi horror movies video last Halloween, you will know that this movie ranked quite high on that list. I'm, of course, talking about Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. However, not the novella version. No, I'm talking about Frozen Hell. Yeah, what's this, you may be wondering, for those of you who don't know? Frozen Hell is the recently rediscovered full-length novel version of Who Goes There. Yeah. It's about 45 pages longer than the version that we've had all these years. How cool is that? So, yeah, I mean, still, as far as a novel goes, it's not very long. It's about 100 pages, so I guess the original novella was like 55 pages or something like that. But anyway, it's darn near double the length of the version that we've had all this time. The version that The Thing from Another World was loosely adapted from. John Carpenter's The Thing was less loosely adapted from. So there's actually never been an adaptation of the full version of the story. And this is the first time that the full version of the story has ever been made available. Interesting side note, though, having said that, Blumhouse, apparently with the involvement of John Carpenter, is actually working on Frozen Hell. They're doing an adaptation of the full-length novel. So I'm really interested to see that, honestly. I will freely admit that I have gas. I will freely admit that I'm a blub. I'm a blub. I will freely admit I am a Blumhouse fan. Oh, there go all my viewers. No, I enjoy their movies. You know, I've been you know, there's the Conjuring movies, the Insidious movies, Happy Death Day. There's the recent Invisible Man. Have you guys seen that? The 2020 Invisible Man? Holy crap, that was a good movie. And they've got a new Wolfman movie that they're working on, so it looks like Universal just kind of handed them the Dark Universe. Say, well, you guys seem to know what you're doing more than we, the studio that owns all these properties, do. So why don't you see what you can do with it? And, well, so far, so good. Invisible Man was amazing. So really looking forward to Wolfman. Anyway, another property, another Universal property that they're adapting is this one. And, yeah, I definitely look forward to checking it out. Now, this is pretty short. This is only about 100 pages, so this will definitely be some bedtime reading in the very near future. It has a beautiful painted cover, actually a wraparound cover, I believe. Yeah, it's a wraparound cover. And lots of very nice interior illustrations throughout. Let me just find a couple here for you. Yeah, so apparently a lot of what was cut out. So yes, let's do some editing on this one. So apparently the story goes, John W. Campbell originally submitted the full-length version for possible publication, and it was rejected. So he cut it down to novella length, and that was accepted. I think it was actually serialized in Weird Tales. Yeah, that famous sci-fi fantasy pulp magazine where Conan got his start, and H.P. Lovecraft got his start. Yeah, big magazine there. So anyway, it was serialized there, and then, you know, became the legend that we know. So yeah, love these interior illustrations. So, and then of course the famous movies were made based on it. So yeah, so it should be pretty interesting to not only read the full-length novel version for the first time. I've never actually read the novella. I've had like a PDF of it for a while. It's been in the public domain for quite a while. But I just kind of skimmed it. I haven't actually sat down and read it. But now, I mean, I'll read this version because it's more. So definitely looking forward to seeing what Blumhouse does with it, especially now that John Carpenter is apparently involved with it. So very cool. Alrighty, well, that is it for this update. So we got 3 pretty cool additions to the collections. There we go. 2 that fill some long-standing gaps, and 1 that fills, well, a long-standing gap in things that I've read, that I'm a fan of the adaptations of. Alrighty, that is it from me to you for now, so thank you very much for watching. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors. Be sure to catch me on Twitch. I stream just about every day, and I'll see you next time. Until then, sayonara.